we're going to react to the Odyssey drama once more. This might be the last video on the Odyssey for a little bit, but we're going to see. It's a video from Nerdrotic. You know I love Nerdrotic. Gary is the homie. The Odyssey Backlash goes nuclear. What the fuck, Nolan? Yeah, what the fuck indeed. We're going to react to this video and give a response.
This idea was also explored in a book called Black Athena. I think people should read it, which argues that classical Greek culture is heavily in.
I'm already annoyed. I don't want to hear anything this bitch has to say. I don't want to hear nothing from these people. But I get that Gary's trying to make a point with this, so yeah, I gotta bear with it because he obviously had to edit it. Well, Garrett had to edit it. Perry Chan had to edit it, but still, you know what I mean.
Indebted to Afro-Asiatic and Near Eastern roots. I actually taught Greek mythology to 8th graders. And so I covered this. So people that are saying that Helen of Troy could not possibly be played by a black woman don't know history.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million practitioners of common sense, something that seems to be in short supply these days, and the 4% who haven't subscribed yet. Without a doubt, Christopher Nolan is the king of Hollywood. He's not only its most notable director, he's the last movie star, the only guy in Tinseltown who can consistently put butts in seats on his name alone. And there's no better proof of that than Oppenheimer, a 3-hour biopic where a bunch of it's in black and white, people are just sitting around and talking, and it almost made $1 billion and won a lot of Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Nothing you guys don't know already, yet it doesn't make it any less insane, but that is the power of Nolan. That's why it's surprising to be in this unusual territory of having to talk about Christopher Nolan's name mired in controversy. And no, it's not because of the questionable sound mixing where you're watching some of his movies at home and you constantly have to have your finger on the volume button. And no, it's not because of some of the questionable science in Interstellar or the questionable quality of The Dark Knight Rises. And listen, there's no question that movie is terrible because despite all of those things, Nolan movies make a lot of money. And he's got the biggest and most enthusiastic fan base I have ever seen for a director. And yes, I'm including Steven Spielberg from the 80s. Now, occasionally, they can make a Snyder Bro sound reasonable because they're passionate. That's why, to say the least, it's a bit odd with the Odyssey that Christopher Nolan, the big daddy of Hollywood, is playing the Hollywood game when he doesn't need to. People used to joke that Christopher Nolan could probably use a real atom bomb in Oppenheimer, and the truth is, if he really wanted one, they would find a way. So when some of the questionable casting of the Odyssey was announced, Christopher Nolan got something that he earned but Hollywood doesn't deserve, the benefit of the doubt. And let's face it, most of the casting is pretty good. Now, Matt Damon isn't anyone's first choice for Odysseus, but he's not bad. Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, John Bernthal, Mia Goth, James Remar, and even Charlize Theron, because the more time she spends on a set filming a movie is the less time she spends adopting children and changing them. But after that, it gets pretty bad. Let's face it, when people are overlooking Zendaya playing Athena, you know you're in trouble. I don't have anything against Zendaya, and I don't think she's as bad as Pedro Pascal. I am just curious as to why she gets cast in so many productions when she has the acting range of Tessa Thompson. Then there's...
Exactly. I don't think anybody really has a problem with her necessarily. It's just that she's not a good actress, and for the roles that she's given, it just, you know, she's not for those, you know. She wasn't a good MJ. She's not going to be a good Athena. She's barely a good Shani. Barely. I wouldn't even say that. Probably not even a good Shani. She's just Zendaya in every movie she's in.
John Leguizamo, who has consistently argued that Latinos should play Latino roles. By that logic, he shouldn't be playing Aeneas unless my geography's bad and Colombia is located in the Aegean Sea. Of course, there's rapper Travis Scott, who I'm totally familiar with, who was cast as the Bard, where Christopher Nolan said, I cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap.
Is it, though?
If that's...
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. That's a stretch on Nolan's part. Some people like that idea. I don't know, man. Of all people, Travis Scott, right? Like, I feel like you could have gone with anybody, any rapper in the world. You know, even foreign rappers, Greek rappers that would have been unknowns. Could have done anything. But Travis Scott, of all people, it's just a weird choice.
The case, I almost wish I was going to be around in a couple of thousand years as people pass on the oral history of Babies Got Back. Anyway, I think Asmongold has a better and more savage alternative casting for Travis Scott.
Maybe he should have cast Travis Scott as Hades. That way he could send people to the underworld like he did with Astroworld.
8 people.
Oh, no, Asmon, why? No. Dude, I know somebody who was at Astro World that day. Homie of mine. Not gonna say his name here, but homie of mine, real good friend. He was at Astro World the day of that when that happened. He's told me some stories, which I will not explain here, but I'll just say some of it's exaggerated, some of it is not exaggerated, but nonetheless, that was dirty, Asman. That was dirty, bro.
In the crowd.
Oh, no. Then we get to what may or may not be the worst of the casting. It has been rumored for months that Lupita Nyong'o is playing Helen of Troy, and just a couple of days ago, it was confirmed. The face that launched 1,000 ships and the face that was behind Will Smith right after he smacked the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to. The decision that has earned the label the AWDEIC, and it's got everyone scratching their head and asking Christopher Nolan, what the are you doing? The man known for grounding things even with the wildest concepts. The guy committed to realism and technical craftsmanship goes full Netflix. From the same global entertainment industry that gave us Black Cleopatra, Black Little Mermaid, Black Anne Boleyn, Latina Snow White, Black Female Dwarves, Black Elves, Black Female Viking Queen Jarl Hacken, and Black Snape. We get Black Helen of Troy, who is originally from Sparta, and I would expect this from the rest of Hollywood, but not from Chris Nolan. And that's why the rumor of Paige playing the ghost of Achilles, something that a lot of people thought was preposterous a few days ago, has now become believable. And the memes have been glorious. And on top of that, Elon's been dunking it, and it actually made the news.
Famous Hollywood director Christopher Nolan, this guy right here, is making a movie based on the book, the poem, The Odyssey. And I'm not kidding when I say any of this, but the role of Achilles will reportedly be played by Paige.
Now, it has to be stated this has not been confirmed, but you can't blame anyone for believing it. Now,
Yeah, and the fact that Elon jumped on this and Elon responded to us just skyrocketed the backlash to an astronomical level. Yeah, it went bad for a couple weeks there.
A lot of people think it's going to be Elpenor, a former crew member who died accidentally, who's begging Odysseus in the underworld to find his body so he can give him a proper burial. Or Paige could be playing Anticlea, Odysseus' mother, who Odysseus can call mommy. And yes, I had to look up how to pronounce these names because most of my bandwidth is used towards remembering Tolkien names, and if I get any of them wrong,
I don't care.
Speaking of Tolkien, things have gotten so bad that the Access Media feels they need to come in and sweep for Nolan. From Variety, The Odyssey, why Elon Musk and his troll army attacks aren't just silly but wildly inaccurate. For starters, since the casting announcement, people have been roasting this movie long before Elon Musk chimed in. And if you're going to say the trolls army's attacks aren't just silly but wildly inaccurate, I wouldn't have used the examples they're about to bring up. From the team that brought you Why is Snow White Latina? Why are there black people in the Rings of Power? And Star Wars has gone woke comes the latest online onslaught against an anticipated Hollywood project that committed the unfathomable sin of having a diverse cast. Considering Snow White was 2025's biggest box office bomb, losing well over $200 million for Disney. With The Rings of Power Season 2, they lost 60% of their audience from Season 1, where The Hollywood Reporter, Variety's sister website, because they're all owned by the same company, Penske Media, reported for Season 1, it only had a 37% completion rate, meaning 63% of the audience that started the season fell off. So they lost 60% from the season where they lost 63%.
60% of the time, it works every time.
And what are you doing bringing up Star Wars? It's in the worst shape it's ever been. How bad? Well, 2 years ago, your sister website, The Hollywood Reporter, had to ask, is Disney bad at making Star Wars? And the answer is yes, and it's only gotten worse since then. So the only thing being silly and wildly inaccurate here is you, the Access Media, which tracks. In recent days, Twitter trolls have formed a phalanx and pointed their saracens squarely at The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's $250 million adaptation of Homer's epic, scheduled to hit cinemas July 17th. They have not actually seen the film yet, mind you, but have nevertheless managed to work themselves into a lather over a pair of castings, though Paige's character isn't even confirmed yet. Paige as Achilles' ghost and Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. Full disclosure, I didn't need to read that paragraph. I just wanted to get one more in. So soon, forget that Achilles and Helen of Troy are both fictional characters navigating a mythological fable replete with a giant cyclops, six-headed Skyla, and assorted other gods and monsters, or that these are just two actors in a giant cast that includes mostly white folks.
So that's where the Access Media always, plays the victim and always gets things wrong. Because whenever they pull this game, they never consider the fact that they are the oppressors. They never consider themselves in the wrong here. They always say, it's your fault for not liking a diverse cast. Well, see, we haven't seen the film yet. Sure, we haven't seen the film yet. Don't need to. You released the trailer. You released the casting. That was enough for us to say, nah, we're out. That's it. That's all it takes now. Because we notice, we recognize pattern recognition. We notice these things. It's a pattern. It is diverse cast going against the source material. Fan attacks leads to ultimately the project being dog shit. And be it from writing, be it from characters, be it from PR nightmares, whatever it is. It ends up being dog shit. And then what do? They use that to justify their fan attacks. It goes right back into the circle of, oh, you just didn't like it because you're a racist. It's like, yeah, you know what? We're not falling for this bullshit again. We're boycotting it. We ain't going to see it no more. Not interested. And then they get mad when you don't see it. They're always the victim. They can never be wrong. Fuck the access media, dude.
And it's at this point we have to break out an old meme that still checks out. You can accept dragons, elves, and talking trees, but you can't accept a 2021 BMW 5 Series 530i with optional heated seating. Why are you so bigoted? So my favorite part is the Page as Achilles trying to open a jar of pickles meme actually made the article. Yes, I completely understand that this is not a historical tale. It is a mythological tale, but that mythology has a region/country of origin. And as far as I know, there isn't a single Greek actor cast in this film. In the prominent ensemble cast, yet it was important enough for Chris Nolan to build an actual ship that could withstand the chop of the Mediterranean in early spring, but also sail from Morocco to Greece to Italy as production moved location. Or technical realism, but one of the major pitfalls of modern fantasy these days is a complete loss of immersion. Or, as our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett likes to say, verisimilitude. Maybe there won't be a day I won't have to break out this J.R.R. Tolkien quote about adaptation, but today is not that day.
The canons of narrative in any medium cannot be wholly different, and the failure of poor films is often precisely an exaggeration, and in the intrusion of unwarranted matter owing to not perceiving where the core of the original lies.
So Christopher Nolan thought it was prudent to build an actual seaworthy ship, which I think is cool as hell, by the way, and instruct composer Ludwig Göransson not to use an orchestra because they didn't have an orchestra back then. Instead, they're going to use 35 gongs run through a synthesizer because apparently they had synthesizers back then. But then you're not going to get the armor somewhat historically accurate.
What are they looking at? What are they looking at, guys? Should I be scared to click forward? Bro. Why did you have to do this to me? I'm gonna have a heart attack. Nolan, what are you doing to me?
Metatron is good, people. Go subscribe to Metatron. He's fucking great. I knew he was gonna have a field day with this.
Let me get this straight. We've got full plate steel armor. For some reasons, they're fat. So we've got obese steel plate with a late 15th century Italian barbute helmet. This is the Bronze Age. What are you doing?
And then there's the use of American accents with British actors who don't have them and somewhat modern vernacular, like Matt Damon yelling, "Let's go," or the use of the word dad or daddy. Based on what we've seen, this film is all over the place, so you can't blame people for thinking that the Odyssey looks awful. But aside from the questionable casting and the questionable costume choices and the overall inconsistency in adaptation, the other glaring red flag is the possibility that this film is based on Emily Wilson's 2017 translation of Homer's.
Drinker mentioned this in his video, and once I saw it, I was like, oof, 2017, Emily, oof.
Odyssey through a feminist lens, something the professor of classical studies Emily Wilson kind of denies because we all know feminist activist academics are some of the most objective people in the world. I didn't want to be in any way untruthful or irresponsible about what the original text is saying or doing. I tried to think as much as I could about how my own identities and histories might affect my interestedness in the poem as a woman and as a gender-aware feminist.
Interestedness. Is that even a word? Oh, and this is the woman that wrote a book that proves that you too can write a book, fam. Doesn't matter if you're good at it. You can write a book. I mean, hell, Gary wrote a book. But that's no shot towards Gary. I love Gary. And I'd love to read his book, to be honest. I'd love to. I haven't got a chance to, haven't bought it yet, but I'd love to. But for a chick who wrote a book trying to translate the Odyssey, interestedness. Okay. All right, if you say so, bitch.
Well.
Now, some people might say correctly that Nolan has never stated that his film is based on any singular translation or Emily Wilson's. Fair enough, but he has invoked her name twice in 2 separate interviews. From Empire magazine in November of 2025, I think it's the Emily Wilson translation that begins, "Tell me about a complicated band." And then from the recent Time magazine interview, he mentions her name again when referring to a line spoken by Odysseus. A line in Emily Wilson's translation sums him up. Lying, Odysseus replied, "I will tell you the truth completely." Now, I wouldn't want to necessarily say that's a smoking gun, just like I wouldn't want to condemn Christopher Nolan for walking in a woman's march surrounded by pussy hats that hopefully his wife made him go to. Again, you expect this from Hollywood and the entertainment industry in the UK, but you don't expect it from Chris Nolan. So again, I have to ask the question, why? I was so excited about this movie. I bought my tickets months ago for the 70mm IMAX showing here in town. Christopher Nolan was essentially taking on high fantasy, the OG fantasy that's mythology, the Odyssey, and this is the first time it's getting a big budget Hollywood adaptation. Something Hollywood has been sorely missing of late, not just the sword and sandals epic, but the Hollywood epic. And to be fair to Nolan, while the controversy has just recently hit the zeitgeist, and there's certainly some discourse on X, Twitter, and YouTube, if you go over to the Odyssey trailers, they are overwhelmingly liked. The IMAX showings were sold out a year in advance. Based on what I've seen with anybody else, I think this would be most surely a dumpster fire, but I don't know. It's tough to bet against Nolan. And for the people saying that this is going to be a flop, you might want to pump the brakes on that one. And if it was, I would be completely shocked. And hopefully this is much ado about nothing, and it's great. But I'm not loving what I see. And again, it's odd to see the Odyssey. I'll stop doing that. To see Christopher Nolan embroiled in the culture war. And now
I don't think it's going to flop, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be a shit failure movie. It could be a massive failure of a movie. It could be absolute dog shit, but it's still going to make a lot of money. Will it be like the highest grossing movie of all time or something? No. It's certainly not going to be $1 billion or anything, but it could still reach 600, 800 million easily, even if it's good or even if it's bad, but I don't think it's going to be a flop. That doesn't mean it's not going to be a disaster.
it's getting nuts. We got the history bros versus the Nolan bros versus the culture warriors, who some of them are Nolan bros, so they're conflicted. And it's definitely getting roasted on social media, including X, Twitter, and yes, Elon is still at it today. You know, others have been saying Christopher Nolan is doing this to win awards. I disagree. Nolan doesn't need any more awards. He won them all with Oppenheimer alone. Let's just say the worst case scenarios are true. I think it's about the top dog of a dying industry reinforcing the bad ideas that led to the decline of Hollywood, which ultimately would be really disappointing. So the best way to shut everyone up will be if the movie's good. And it still wouldn't shut everyone up, but
It's Hollywood, baby. Nerdrotic.com.
Yep.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Gary is good, people. I love Nerdrotic. Go subscribe to Nerdrotic and tell him Isaac of the Dead sent you. But let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in another video very soon.